Love to Hate, the podcast that asks the question, what do you love to hate?
You are a smelly pirate hooker. And I hate your ass face!
Do you love it?
No!
Do you hate it?
Oh, yeah. Yes! You stupid, ignorant son of a bitch, dumb bastard! I toss in your general direction!
No more foreplay.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Love to Hate. I'm Philip Fullman, and you are?
I'm Brandon Luna.
Brandon, hey. Philip Fullman, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
You seem oddly familiar.
I know, right? It's almost like I knew you at some point.
I know. Man, where from? Did a podcast with a guy once.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Yeah. Joey Salvia?
It might have been, yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, since we're sitting here with these microphones...
Might as well do something, right?
Exactly. How you been, man?
I've been good. Had a little bit of a hiatus, not necessarily by choice, but...
No, just scheduling and all of that stuff.
Life
Life
gets in the way.
events, yes,
Yeah.
it does. As I'm sure anybody listening would attest to, they've had that happen themselves. But you've been traveling, I've been moving, so just a lot of stuff in motion. But you know what? Being
What?
the nerds we are, that did not stop us from going to see Wonder Woman.
That is true. We did see Wonder Woman. Not
We did.
together.
Not together.
but,
No,
yeah.
no. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
But no, we did see it, and so that's what we're going to talk about today, kids. We are going to review Wonder Woman for you. You are obviously dying to just hear what we think
What
about
these
it.
two schmucks have to say
Yeah.
about it.
So you said you gave it a 7, 8?
No, I gave it a 6.5.
6.5, and I gave
Yeah.
it a B.
Right.
Or
Which
a B
is,
minus. So,
right.
Okay.
So I probably gave it a what is that? Yeah, I guess I give it a B plus.
Okay.
You know, I would
B
do that.
plus, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So where do we start with this? We could sit there and talk about what we didn't like, what we did. I guess let's start with what we did like. Why we gave it.
I'll say
this high.
surprise a good DC movie again. That's the first thing I'll say is that I was
Right.
very pleasantly surprised. I totally expected this to be another Zack Snyder produced mess
As did
with
I.
CGI out the wazoo. Not that there wasn't CGI out the wazoo, but it was less so and less in your face. I guess it wasn't.
I would say it just as in your face, but not out the wazoo, because
Right.
they saved it till. Oh, by the way, kids, spoilers. They saved it till the third act.
right.
So I was okay with that. The thing I found was they actually decided to have a story to go with the plot.
Right.
Which is not something they have done with many of their movies.
When I heard who was directing this, I knew the name. I was like, oh, okay, I recognize the name, but I didn't know what from. And I looked her up, and she's only had one film to her credit. She directed Monster with Charlize Theron, which got her an Oscar.
That's
And
pretty
I'm
impressive.
That's a weird choice to direct a superhero movie because she's never done anything special effects related. She's never done it. It was all story driven, character driven, that type of thing.
Which
but it's
tends-
also a good idea.
Because that tends to be what most of these movies have lacked is
Right.
a story, something that makes you care about these characters other than just watching them like it's a video game, which is, I think, what most of these have been, where you're just watching them run around, punch things, but for a movie, it's like, I have to care. I can't just care because I read about this character. I have to
Right.
care about them in this movie.
Right. And I almost, I hope there's one of two minds on the thought process for hiring her. The first thought process is I hope the DC had the fortitude to say, you know what, let's get a female director for this. It's probably a good idea. Let's find someone that knows how to really push a story with characters and make this a good film. I think what really happened is, hey, it's a movie about a superhero that's abroad. We should probably get it broad directed so we don't piss people off.
Could be.
Well,
and I think one thing is they avoided the. I think if you had a guy, it could have branched into that overly sexy superhero thing,
Right,
Which
right.
this did not.
It wasn't very sexualized at all. I mean, she
No.
was hot, but they didn't focus in on look
Right,
at the boobs
right.
and check out her legs while she's
No,
running
she
and
was
stuff like that.
no,
Yeah,
she was
wasn't
just
that at all.
Attractive woman, but that wasn't the centerpiece or the focal point of it.
Right.
So I was glad that it did have the story. I think for me my favorite part, the strongest part, was the first act on Themyscira,
Right.
which also used to be known as Paradise Island, which
Right.
Steve Trevor works in there at one point.
Where the girls are pretty.
Yeah. But, and hey, Princess Buttercup, she's all grown up. She's
I know,
a
right?
badass.
And kicking ass, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was where you had the strongest part of the story, and I really enjoyed that, kind of her background, which as an old comic nerd, that had changed quite a bit from the original. but I really did enjoy that in how that gave her, just lent to her character.
Right.
And gave her some depth.
Yeah, I totally love that part. And up until pretty much the war scenes at the end, I was good with the movie. I think, well, we'll get into it. Let's say first third, really enjoyed it. Liked the characters, liked her mother, liked Princess Buttercup as a kick-ass drill sergeant, basically. She was great. And it was funny because I watched it with my family, and I was like telling my daughter, my 8-year-old, I'm like, that's Princess Buttercup. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, that's Princess Buttercup. She's like, no, it's not. And my wife's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, look at her. I mean, she's aged. She's definitely aged. But, I still think she's attractive, and she was good for the part. So I dug the flick, man. I really did. I was very, very happy, surprised, and just overwhelmed by how much better it was than I thought it was going to be.
I agree. I was really expecting just another letdown. I had no plans to go see it, but when I read some of the reviews and heard some of my friends talk about it, guys who like me, they want something with with some substance to it as opposed to just all visual effects. That lent me to go, okay, I'm going to go see this. And even once you got into the second part of it, once she left the mascara, still thought it had a pretty solid story and great action and obviously CGI involved, but it wasn't to the point of that it got to in the later parts of the movie. But the scene everybody talked about was her walk across the battlefield. And that was probably one of the most badass things in there.
Oh, yeah.
Was her just walking across and just wiping everybody out and just, kicking ass, not bothering with names.
Right.
The other thing I really loved was the tank throw.
Right.
Because that's always kind of been an iconic in the comic books thing of her tossing the tank.
Right.
So I really dug that.
Yeah. And with more style and grace than, say, Captain America.
Yes.
Because they came in at that same, they're in the World War I, World War II thing, but they're always kind of, compared, I guess.
And I think that's why they went with World War I to avoid the comparisons. Now, I read something where they said, well, when we were writing it, if Ares is going to be the big bad guy and he's trying to destroy the world, what better time than during the First World War when this is really the clash of multiple countries? This would really be his time rather than why wait for World War II. So I was like, okay, that's kind of plausible. And it hadn't been done before.
Right.
So I was fine with that because she was still true to her character. I thought Godot did a great job.
I did too. Very surprised, as small as she is. I mean, and the thing is, like when I heard she was getting cast, I was like, oh, she's so tiny. She's a little girl. She's 5'9". She's as tall as me.
She's tall.
She's a tall woman,
but she's just not muscular.
Small in stature. Yeah.
Yeah. She's. Although there was a picture somebody posted online of her. It was her induction day when she went into the IDF, and she's got this huge freaking backpack on her, and she's just walking with no problem. So I mean, she did her tour in the IDF as all Israelis do. So she knows how to fight.
Right.
She can throw a punch.
She brought some of that with her. You could tell she was very comfortable in the action scenes.
Yes, they didn't have to do a lot of weird cuts to make it look like she could throw. She knows how to throw a punch.
She trained for 9 months for the movie and gained 17 pounds of pure muscle. Wow. That's pretty awesome.
It is. I didn't see it on her, but
yeah,
you know.
Well, it's all her boobs. They're all
no.
She was crushing walnuts with him. They just cut that part out because it was a little inappropriate.
Gotcha. Like they cut out the sex scene, or they didn't go into it. Which, you know, again, kid movie or kid friendly movie. You don't really need that.
Right.
You know, it was enough that they had the kiss, and
right.
I was fine with that.
Yeah, and there was pretty high levels of violence, but no blood. So, I mean, very little blood, I think.
Yeah, you know, people dying, but not graphically. You just assume the death. So, you know, because that was another knock against DC was how many people. But this time it's German, so who gives a shit?
Right.
You know, or bad. I should say bad Germans.
Right.
Let me clarify that. So they kind of tone that down, more Marvel-esque, where it's like, okay, a lot of people are dying, but you're not going to see them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I
think they handled that part well. Then you get into the last third of the movie, the final act, and that's where the CGI goes off the charts.
Right.
Just, you know, and again, you have two gods battling. It makes sense. There's going to be a lot of CGI. I didn't like the lasso The way it glowed, that just kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
But it was just really this over the top. I don't know. It again, everything was pitch black. It looked like the final scene of Batman Superman.
Right.
Everything pitch black and going at it.
Yeah, there's nothing around. Like, oh, they're fighting in a void, basically.
Right.
Yeah. They said she did go back for reshoots, so I'm kind of wondering if it was the finale that they reshot, because it seemed rushed compared to the rest of the movie to me.
I think it did seem rushed. I think I had read something. Patty Jenkins was talking about the scene that was reshot. It had something to do with when she sees the horse being abused, and her reaction to it. And I think that's the scene she said. She said was like that. I know they had. Now, jumping back and forth, in that second act when she tries ice cream, and she says, "What was it? You should be proud of yourself," or something like that.
Right.
That was from one of the recent comic books.
Oh yeah,
where she discovers ice cream.
Oh, okay, so that's
which
cool.
I thought, yeah, and a lot better than the that pilot by the guy who did Ally McBeal. I can't think of his name. Michelle Pfeiffer's husband.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
Yeah, but I saw that whole pilot online, the modern take on Wonder Woman, which was so horrible, because at the end of the night it's her curled up on the couch with a blanket eating ice cream out of a carton, sitting with her cat. Yeah, so very chick flick-ish, very Ally McBeal-ish.
Yeah.
So I think,
I liked that girl. I liked the actress they picked for that.
I can't stand her.
You can't stand her?
No.
What?
She annoys me.
What?
Yeah.
I like her.
No, I don't.
I think she's hot.
I didn't like her on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. either.
I think she's hot. I'm trying to think what I saw her in where she was like a serial killer or something.
I think she's on...
She was on John Wick. She was in that too, yeah.
She's in some other superhero thing now. I don't know what it is. Don't really care.
Yeah.
But
I'm
over it. No, I don't.
Okay.
Adrian Panelinki, I don't know. Don't really care.
Yeah.
I know Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman, so that's really all that matters, since that's what we're talking about. But I'm hopeful that this might carry over to Justice League.
Yeah.
I don't know, because most of that's in the can.
Most of that's in the can, and most of it was our buddy Zach.
Now, to be fair, he left under tragic circumstances.
He did.
No, but you don't wish that on anybody.
No, not at all.
And his daughter committed suicide, so obviously, he thought he'd throw himself into his work,
right,
to distract himself, and that works for some people. It didn't work for him. So I mean, it's unfortunate. You can't say, well, maybe we'll get a better movie, boy. And that, no, you don't want that to be the reason.
Right.
But apparently, they said Whedon had already been working a little with them. How much he gets to reshoot, editor, work with the editors, I don't know.
Right.
I think Whedon is a good choice because he does very well with ensembles. I think I mentioned that before.
Yeah,
he did
does.
On Firefly, Buffy, Angel. Did it with the Avengers.
Right.
So it would be great if he could do that with Justice League. But again, how much of that is shot that they're not going to let him go back and go, hey, we're going to just make a whole new movie.
Right.
So
the good thing about the way that Zack Snyder shoots, though, is that it's pretty inexpensive for him to just go back with a green screen and a bunch of actors and say, throw some stuff behind him.
True.
This is what I want to happen. So you don't have to worry about getting sets and all that shit.
Yeah, it's true. They're not really building. It's just getting the actors back. Well, and I guess that was the other thing, is they're all moved on to other projects.
Right.
So that makes
Ben
it
Affleck's gained 60 pounds and
probably passed out in some casino somewhere.
Right. But quite honestly, with this type of movie, you can get back a bunch of stuntmen in suits and probably get what you need. Get a couple of close-ups and you're done.
You probably could.
It makes you wonder how much of this is really like those actors doing everything.
Oh, I would say very. I mean, I thought that in Captain America: Civil War, when Black Panther was out there doing all that, wasn't him.
Right.
Chadwick, Boseman, or
whatever his name is.
he does the scenes with the mask off, but that's about it. Everything else is the stunt guy.
Right.
I think they said Val Kilmer's stunt guy was Mitch Gaylord from the U.S. Olympics
for Batman. Yeah.
For
Batman Forever.
Yeah, he was the one doing the flips and the kicks and all of that.
Wow.
Because Val Kilmer couldn't.
Right.
So I think you probably get a lot of that in there.
Yeah. Mitch Gaylord, wow.
Yeah, how do you like that? Yep.
That's a stretch, man. That's going back.
Yeah, I have a good memory.
Mitch Gaylord. Jeez. Zack Snyder has a cameo in the film as a World War I soldier. Of course he does.
It's no. It's in a photo.
Oh, it's in a photo? Okay.
Yeah, as I understand, when they're looking at photos, that's where it is. Now, speaking of cameos, they do have a bit of a Batman nod in there.
They had Wayne Enterprises on something or whatever.
The armored truck that delivers her that original photo that he found in Batman Superman of her with Steve Trevor in World War I.
Right.
And, tracked down the original. Of course he did, because he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He can afford it. World's greatest detective. So they kind of tie it in there, loop it together, just to bookend it to let us know, hey, she's still around, and obviously in contact with members of the Justice. Well, I guess just maybe Bruce Wayne at this point. Doesn't really matter, because it really didn't. It wasn't sandwiched into the movie to where it took away from it, where they hurt the story in order to promote the other film, like maybe Iron Man 2.
Right.
So overall, I was really pleasantly surprised. Surprised.
Yeah, I think Gal did a better job than Kobe Smulders, whatever his name is. She was up for the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She looks more like Wonder Woman to me.
Colby does?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Gal's Israeli, so she looks more exotic. So
Right.
I get that. I still think, though, just for a solid somebody who looks to me physically like Wonder Woman, Gina Carano, the MMA fighter.
Yeah.
That's more bicep, more just more muscular.
Right.
But again, he goes kind of to the Christopher Reeve, the '70s Superman. He
Right.
doesn't have to be Schwarzenegger-esque
Right.
to be that strong.
Well, yeah,
he's
'cause
just
his
a
strength-
regular guy.
His strength
exactly.
is from being who he is.
Yeah,
not-
and she's a god, so she doesn't have to be super ripped.
Right,
She's
right.
still got the power.
Yeah, good point.
Whereas Batman has to be super ripped because he's just a dude.
Yeah.
Just a dude who misses mom and dad.
Now, Kobe does good. I think I was saying Colby. It's Kobe. Kobe does good with action, though. I mean, she did well in the Avengers things. I thought she did. She handled herself.
Yeah.
well.
I know who you were talking about. I was thinking you were talking the girl who played in Thor. She played Sif.
No.
Okay.
No, this
Okay.
is a chick from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, she shouldn't be in anything then. They should never give those people jobs again. Bunch of hacks.
Come on, you don't like, what's his name? Neil Patrick Harris?
I like Dr. Horrible, but that's about it.
Dr. Horrible's great.
Neil Patrick Harris is kind of going the George Takei route for me.
He's annoying you a little bit. Yeah.
Little bit.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Just too gay. You just don't like the gays.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just that he's everywhere and he's being the same character
Right.
all the time.
He's a personality. He's
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work for me.
Yeah. He still acts occasionally. Like he acted in was it Gone Girl or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. So he still has some acting chops. He has the ability to do it, but he's not necessarily getting offered those roles.
Well, when somebody backs up a truck,
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. Anthony Hopkins is in the new Transformers movie.
right.
No doubt the best part of that movie, just him delivering whatever shit lines they give him.
Right.
But they backed a truck up. This is a
Right.
man who could act in anything. And you're like, yeah, okay, how much? Sure.
Mark Wahlberg was probably over there like, hey, you want to do this movie with me? It's great. They'll give you lots of money. I'm Mark Wahlberg.
Probably.
Oh,
like his freaking commercials he does now where he
Right.
hawks everything.
Yeah.
And Angelica Houston's in it. That's something that's changed, man. They used to be A-list celebrities never did TV commercials. Now you got Clooney doing Nescafe. You got Wahlberg.
A-list with a Z-list. Clooney and Garcia. Like, come on, you couldn't get Brad Pitt to help you out, Clooney. Come on, you got Andy Garcia.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, who else can we get from the Ocean's 11 cast? Oh, what about Andy Garcia? Like, fine.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that was just something you never saw.
No.
They do it overseas because
Overseas,
then
big
they
time,
felt
yeah.
it didn't hurt their rep. But
Right.
now I think it's again, it's a paycheck. But Clooney's not acting as much either. He's becoming more of a personality too.
He's a producer too, so he does he produces a lot of stuff.
So I could see that. I don't know. If anybody, honest to God, if somebody offered me that much money to do an Nescafe commercial, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You want me to wear the chicken suit? Fine. Not a problem.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
don't
just
know.
me.
Yeah, but we're different position, obviously. Someone offered us that, I'd be like, I don't understand why, but sure, I'll take it. That's great.
Well, yeah, that's true because we don't have that type of money.
Yep.
I would like to think he's using it for philanthropic purposes.
You never know, he might be.
He could.
You might be,
Or he's buying another villa. Not that I'm jealous.
might be buying hair products for kids in Africa or something. You never know. This is the first film in Gal Gadot's acting career where she received top billing. Good for her.
Yeah, because before this, she did some Fast and Furious movies, which really, why?
Right. Those movies make money, man. Back
don't
up a truck.
Don't get it.
You need to watch them all
Like hell.
so you get your man card back.
What's that got to do with it? Can't I just have a smart man card instead of a stupid man card?
No, it's one card. One card fits all.
Yeah, no, that's not going to work. That's not really going to work
Smart
for me.
man's card.
You remember when TNT did that, probably back in the 90s, that promo, TNT, movies for men who like movies. Mm-hmm. I was like, how about movies for guys who like good movies? Because,
But that should have said was movies for guys that like meat and beer. That's pretty much what they should have said.
Yeah.
Just
guys who just want to watch shit blow up.
Right, and just done. It's really just that channel's just white noise. You put it on, something blows up. You look at it occasionally. Okay, yeah,
yeah, that's
pretty
true.
much it. Yeah,
yeah. That's what Rizzolian Isles. They have the most shitty shows on that.
Rizzolian Isles.
Well,
that show's not on there. Are you kidding me?
What? It was on TNT or something. I forget what it is. They're the ones who had the one with Kira Sedgwick. They did. I don't know. But it's funny because if you read the small print, it's the highest rated show in network in cable history. And then it's like on premium only cable channels or on free cable channels, demographic this, and this. Yeah, it's all a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Break
it down. I'm sure you could say that is the most watched show ever, but
right.
I don't know how we got on that.
Check out this little bit of trivia. In 2005, Angelina Jolie was offered the role, but she turned it down. In 2015, she was considered to direct it. Do you see Angelina Jolie as Wonder Woman?
No.
Too small. Smaller than Gal, believe it or not. She's just like so skinny.
Well, she's got tattoos, so that would have been hard to cover up.
Yeah. Plus, she's old now.
It's not old.
She's old. She's like 85 or something in dog years.
She's younger than you.
No, she's not. Is she really?
Probably.
I don't know. She looks better than me, so I wouldn't.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Still, she's one of those ones that's like oddly beautiful, but when you look at her too much and you start to see her dad, you're like, you kind of get creeped out.
I've never seen her dad, but I've never really, I don't know, she's just kind of irked me.
Yep.
Don't know why. Yeah, I've just never cared for her that much. I've never really seen anything with her in it that it was like, oh, that was good. She may be better looking, but look at it this way. At least you have somebody to come home to.
That's true.
And you're,
Yep. And I actually own my kids. Like, I made them.
That's true.
I own my kids. That's a horrible thing to say.
No. Yeah, but you know what? And it's great that you adopt kids. But I mean, is there anything wrong with adopting American kids?
No.
I mean, if you want, I think it's just this thing where it's like, look, that's even more special because I adopted from another country. Like, nothing wrong with adopting kids here who need homes.
Right.
If you want to make yourself look more PC or make yourself look better, by not adopting a child who looks like you, there's plenty of kids here that need homes, but instead you go someplace else because it's more exotic. So that's always been my beef with that. I mean, overall it's a good thing, but Sandra Bullock, she adopted a kid from New Orleans. I give her points for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
adopt
agree.
American. That's what I say.
Right.
Yeah. What else you got there?
That's pretty much it. Bunch of junk, really.
Linda Carter didn't get a cameo. I
No.
think they talked about it, but the scheduling didn't work out.
Right.
Plus, then everybody would be like, she's way hotter than Gal.
They could have uglied her up and had her play the doctor, Dr. Poison. That would have been
They could
cool.
have. They could. It still wouldn't have worked. She'd still been hotter.
Yeah.
You just can't mess that up.
What'd you think about the whole women's only screening in Austin that got all the press?
I didn't care.
That was so stupid.
It was like, it's like, what kind of dude's going to get pissed at that?
Right.
A
dumbass.
Oh, it's discriminatory. You know what? Just shut up.
Right.
It's just somebody looking to make a cause and make a scene like, look at how unfair that is. Black History Month's unfair. Why can't I have white? Because you know why? Because this is something that you've never had to deal with, so we're not going to set that apart for you. And besides, the last time we let a bunch of white guys get together and have their own movement, it didn't go well.
Yeah.
Typically, it never does. So that's why. You know, just don't be offended by it if somebody wants to have their own little thing. So what if women want to go watch it sans men? Who cares? They can enjoy it more. Do whatever.
Right.
You know, for whatever reason. It's a girls' night out. Do you get pissed when it's like, well, why is it ladies' night? How come it's not men's night? Because every other fucking night of the week is men's night, you putz.
Don't give that ammo to my wife. What are you doing?
Oh, why? Did she want to go to the screen? You were against it?
No, just the whole every other night's men's night thing.
Well, I mean, it kind of, when it comes to bars.
Yeah, I guess so. I think every other night is everybody's night, and then women get their own night, and men don't get theirs. I'm sorry. I go against you on that.
There you go.
That's what we do on this show, though.
What's that? Offend?
No, not offend. We just, it's a back and forth, right? It's like ping pong.
Boom, boom. Yeah, definitely not tennis. That's way too high a skill set for us.
So what'd you think about the whole MacGuffin thing with Danny Hudson's
It wasn't that
Houston's
big a deal.
Character.
Did
you see it coming? I mean, I saw it coming.
A little bit.
And
he was just too convenient, too helpful. The thing that was odd to me was then when he becomes Ares, he still looks like an old man.
Right.
It's like, really, dude? You still got like the big fancy British mustache?
Right.
There was nothing about him that changed where he was younger. I mean, he got bigger.
Right.
But part of that was the armor. But it's still like this little old man inside. Like, that was kind of goofy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Zoe was sitting right next to me. We were watching it. As soon as he came on the screen and started trying to help him out and stuff, I leaned over to her and said, "That's the bad guy." She's like, "No." I'm like, "All right." Like, I just knew it.
It was just too obvious. Yeah. I think too obvious with the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Right. I still liked it. I mean, I thought it was a really cool story, and
it was. And hopefully, this is a change for DC. I know the stuff I've read. Jeff Johns, who's doing more with their movies, who was one of their writers for their comic books for a long time. He's more involved, and he's talked about you have to bring back the hope of the DC universe. That's what these characters traditionally were.
Right.
And they got away from that because they were trying to be hip and cool, like Marvel. But if you look at Marvel, they still have their movies are more hopeful and not as dark. And that's really the route DC should have gone. So hopefully this will be a new thing for DC.
Right.
Where they start to realize, hey, if we tell a story, it'll be interesting.
Right. And a couple times when Marvel's tried to get dark, it hasn't necessarily worked the best. You look at like Iron Man 3, you look at Thor Dark World, you look at a couple of other examples where it was just kind of like,
It didn't work. They do better with it on Netflix.
Right.
Because that's the way they established those stories. And again, we've talked about this before, the problem I think that you have with the DC movies is they tried to take what Nolan did with Batman and do that with Superman. It's like two totally different characters. You can't do it.
Right.
But Zack Snyder, he leans dark in his movies. He wants to tell that dystopian type story.
Right.
And that's not Superman at all.
Right.
And again, I think we've also mentioned, it's just like reruns. You create a natural contrast between Batman and Superman.
Which they didn't do.
No,
I mean, never.
No. They had to set it up to where they're fighting because of something Lex Luthor contrived and tricked them into.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, I believe this way, I believe that way, and a fight ensues.
Right. And I think that they had to add scenes that really didn't need to be there in Batman Superman, like him going home to Lois Lane and being lovey-dovey.
Well,
and
they were trying to make it. I think that was the obligatory. Hey, look, it's he's a
Superman's
regular
nice guy. Yeah,
and they should have focused more on that.
Yeah,
not necessarily that scene.
It seemed tacked on.
It was.
They needed more of that in Man of Steel. Is really what because Man of Steel was just too like, I'm mad and
Nobody
just I don't know what
because I'm an alien.
Yeah.
And that's never been. Snyder really liked the focus of. An alien on a new planet, and how does he fit in? It's like, no, he was raised by parents in Kansas. He totally fits in.
Right.
He's just trying to find out his place in the world, but he's never felt. I mean, it was never a matter of he not feeling human.
Right.
It was just how do I use this to help people, and knowing I'm a little different, but always feeling like this is who I am. I grew up human with human parents, and their values. It was never this weird, my parents were Baptist, but I worshipped rock because I was a Kryptonian god. It was never that.
Right.
I mean, hell, he went to a Methodist minister.
Right.
So, I mean...
Okay, do you even remember, was Jimmy Olsen in Man of Steel?
They say he was in the beginning. Or no, not Man of Steel, no. Just Batman, Superman.
Okay, so what? Jimmy Olsen should have been in Man of Steel. And
they should have got rid
levity
of
through him.
The girl, Ginny Olsen.
Right.
And then they just killed off Jimmy.
Right.
In the beginning of the other one. And again, to me, I think that's stunt casting. Like, ooh, look, we're being controversial. Perry White's black. Jimmy's now a girl. Or, we're going with a Ginny Olsen.
Yeah.
Just stick to the goddamn story. It's worked for years. We've talked about that before.
Right.
You know why Black Panther's going to be cool and why he was cool? Because it wasn't all of a sudden like, hey, he's been black all these years, let's make him white. Or like, hey, there was a white Panther, let's make... Just make the character the character. Falcon's a cool character. They wrote a cool black character. Just go write cool black characters. Go write cool women characters.
Right.
And Wonder Woman, a great example of that. Here's a cool woman character that they didn't have to change up or modify to make it interesting because they created that character. It'd be like making James Bond a woman. Why don't you go write a cool woman spy?
Right.
But that would be too difficult, apparently.
Yeah.
So
they've tried a couple times. Never works.
No, it really doesn't. And they may do that with Doctor Who now. They're, talk of going with a female doctor.
Right.
Which, that would change it for me.
They're talking about the chick from the Marvel stuff. What's her name? The one that was...
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. She was
Captain America
Agent Carter.
died. Agent Carter, yeah. There
yeah.
you go.
But
can't think of her name. But
yeah, and she's attractive. I just don't want to see a female doctor.
Right.
The one interesting casting thing I heard was Rupert Head, the guy who was Niles.
From
Giles.
Buffy.
Giles on Buffy.
Yeah.
He'd be cool.
He'd be cool.
Because I don't want to see them go as necessarily as old as Capaldi, but I really don't want to go back to Matt Smith.
Right.
Because he was just a hyper puppy.
Right.
So, well, we've gone on to Doctor Who. Have we?
Right.
That must mean we've said everything we have to say about Wonder Woman.
I don't know. Compare and contrast. Wonder Woman from the 70s to new stuff.
You can't even compare.
Come on, compare.
No,
Do it.
Totally different. You had a series that started out very much like the comic book, World War II, Steve Trevor. It can't afford the budget. It gets moved to another network, and they make it a modern telling. They don't have the special effects. It's the 70s, so of course Artie Johnson's going to be in everything.
Right.
And I don't know if Charles Nelson Riley did an episode. Wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
And it just became cheesy.
Like the old Batman 60 series, yeah.
It really did. They never tried to make it as camp, but it was. And again, you're dealing with limited special effects, storytelling that is really kind of geared towards kids.
Yeah.
It was never serious.
What about the Hulk?
I think they did a better job on the storylines, but limited by the special effects. I felt like that was taken more seriously.
Right. That was the contrast there. It's like a man character. Oh, let's take it serious. A woman's superhero. Come on, guys.
Well, but they didn't take Spider-Man seriously either.
Yeah, that's
in that goofy show he had.
Yeah.
With the kid from the Von Trapp family.
Right.
And the way they did with Adam West Batman camp. Mm-hmm. And Wonder Woman wasn't camp.
It was just cheesy. Yeah.
Yeah. And
spinning to change the costumes was just like
and I think they did that because they were trying to think of how could they something they did for TV. How do we explain this? How do we make it look cool?
Right.
So you're trying to work with what you have
and see your boobs jiggle at the same time.
Yeah, there was that.
Yeah, always a good thing. I'm surprised they didn't just have her jump up and down and change her outfit.
That's very yeah. Well, and that was the thing. There was a lot of TNA in the show.
There was, yeah. I mean, she's a freaking awesome-looking woman, and she was gorgeous in the outfit.
She's still gorgeous. Mm-hmm. She could still wear the outfit, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But, yeah, it was... Well, and the suit got skimpier when it went from ABC to CBS.
Right.
They cut it a little differently. Mm-hmm. So they knew what they were aiming for. But you can't tell those type of stories. You couldn't tell those type of stories on TV at that time, I don't think. That's not what TV was doing. You could do it now. Mm-hmm. Look at, arguably Netflix's TV.
Right.
But if you look at those series, I think they would be able to do those things now because you have a different type of viewer. Mm.
Yeah, I think that Wonder Woman was better for the time that it was made also. I mean, if we'd made this movie 15 years ago, probably wouldn't have been as good.
No, I agree.
It would have been a cheesy mess, probably.
Sure.
So.
Well, look at what look at the last TV show they attempted. Still cheesy.
Yeah.
The costumes were horrible. So
Well, Supergirl's pretty cheesy too.
Never watching it again.
Oh yeah.
Ever. Done.
What happened?
Piece of shit.
What
is
you
what
used to
that
watch
show
it?
is.
You used to watch it.
I watched
didn't
it
you?
with my kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last finale. Have you seen it?
No, I stopped watching it like 4 or 5 episodes in.
Horrible.
Oh yeah.
They desecrated, maligned the character of Superman.
What'd they do?
So he has been, I don't know, they did something to him. The evil Terry Hatcher character. There you go.
Yeah.
For a cameo. And he believes he's fighting Zod.
Okay.
But he's actually fighting Supergirl. When he sees her, he sees Supergirl. And
Where he sees Zod.
Yeah. She beats him.
What?
Yeah, she beats him. So then when they're talking about it, she said, well, you were under, the spell. He goes, no, I was at full power. You beat me. You bested me. You're Earth's champion. Like, bullshit, she beat you. You're telling me Superman at full power thinks he's fighting Zod and Supergirl beats him? No, sir. Not going to happen. It just doesn't. It's not a sexist thing. It's just the way it is in comic books.
Is it not a sexist thing?
No.
Did he have his fingers behind his back? Like, was it crossy finger thing?
And then at one point, she sacrifices her boyfriend for the good of the Earth, and he tells her, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have done it. You made you made a choice I couldn't have made. You're better than me. Wow. No, not at all. Superman always sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yes. First of all, he would have found a way to sacrifice himself before sacrificing anybody else.
Right.
So
what would have worked for you better if he'd snapped out of it, realized it was her, and then let her win, that type of thing, or something?
Yes. Or if they'd I don't know, bring out some red kryptonite or yellow kryptonite, pull out the kryptonite trope and do that. And he's like, oh my God, I'm about to hit Kara, and do it that way. She's not going to beat him. Arguably, Wonder Woman might be able to beat him because she is a god.
Well, Supergirl might be able to beat him if she's on her period, because,
that type of rage.
Yeah.
Kryptonian period rage.
Right. That might do something.
Green Lantern can't beat him. I mean, he's got the what they call the most deadliest weapon on the planet, or most powerful weapon.
With that stupid ring? Come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because Superman has more willpower. Flash can't beat him. I mean, really, the Spectre could beat him, but he's a straight up god. But I don't think Wonder Woman's eating her Wheaties. Just nobody beats Superman. That's what I'm saying. The Spectre can beat Superman, but nobody beats Superman.
Wow.
Especially his kid cousin.
Oh, good to know. I'll have to watch that now.
Batman couldn't beat Superman either. Fucking bastard. Never watching that piece of shit show again.
I think we'll leave it on that note.
All right, great. Hey, if you've joined us, thanks for coming back. And thank you for coming back, Brandon.
Yeah, no problem.
If you've missed us and you want to go back and hear some of our old shows, Brandon is going to tell you where you can hear them.
You can go to YouTube and listen to them there. You can go to iTunes or iHeartRadio and find us there. You can also check us out over at Twitter at Love to Hate Pod and give us ideas for the show. And you can also message us on Facebook or YouTube as well.
There you go. And let's see. We're going to be back next week, right?
Right.
Excellent. What are we going to talk about? Do we know? We'll just figure it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go, man. We're
all right.
Kind of flying by the seat of our pants on this thing. You know that.
Woohoo! All right, kids. We'll talk to you next week. See ya.